Hey Canada, welcome back to Canadian Insights. So Danielle Smith and Pierre Poilievre are basically that couple who insist they're totally fine while awkwardly avoiding eye contact at the family reunion. Smith just inked a pipeline deal with Prime Minister Mark Carney, and Poilievre is out here roasting it like it's a Thanksgiving turkey. But Smith? She's all smiles, saying they're still besties. Nothing says strong political alliance like one person celebrating a win while the other publicly drags it through the mud. Buckle up, because this drama is more complicated than your relationship status after 3 glasses of wine. Alright, let's set the stage here. Danielle Smith, Alberta's premier, and the woman who treats federal regulations like grocery store flyers she didn't ask for, just signed a pipeline deal with Mark Carney's Liberal government. Yes, the same Liberals she spent years battling like they're the final boss in a video game she can't beat. But apparently, when pipelines are on the table, even sworn enemies can share a handshake and a photo op. Smith is out here touring Alberta, grinning ear to ear, selling this agreement like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, or better yet, since oil hit $100 a barrel. She's calling it a win for Alberta, a win for Canada, and basically proof that federalism can work when people put their big kid pants on. The Carney Liberals are eating this up, by the way. They're pointing to Smith's enthusiastic thumbs up like it's a testimonial in a late-night infomercial. See? Even Alberta loves us now. They're practically printing campaign posters with her face on them. It's the ultimate political flex, using your opponent's approval to prove you're doing something right. But wait, there's a plot twist. Enter Pierre Poilievre, Conservative leader, and the guy who built his entire brand on promising Albertans he'd dismantle every Liberal policy faster than you can say carbon tax. Poilievre looks at Smith's pipeline deal and says, yeah, no thanks. He's not buying it. In fact, he's publicly criticizing the agreement, calling it compromised, loaded with strings, and basically not good enough for Alberta. Remember, this is the same guy who won over 6 out of 10 Alberta voters in the last election. His opinion matters here more than a Starbucks order in downtown Calgary. And he's using that influence to basically tell everyone that Smith settled for scraps when she could have had the whole buffet. Now here's where it gets spicy. Smith could have fired back. She could have gone full mama bear defending her cubs. But instead, she takes the diplomatic route, which in political terms means passive-aggressive validation. She starts by saying, look, Pierre would have done things differently. He would have repealed those 9 bad laws I'm always complaining about. He would have backed pipelines with no strings attached, no federal meddling, no compromises. Basically, Poilievre would have ridden into Ottawa on a white horse, torn up every regulation in sight, and handed Alberta a blank check. But here's the kicker, Smith says, he's not the Prime Minister. Unfortunately. That unfortunately is doing some seriously heavy lifting in that sentence, by the way. So Smith's stuck dealing with reality instead of fantasy. And reality right now is Mark Carney sitting in the PM's chair. She's playing the cards she's been dealt, and according to her, those cards aren't terrible. She points out that 7 out of those 9 bad laws are being addressed in this agreement. That's progress, she says. There's a commitment to the pipeline, a massive carbon capture and storage project, and federal cooperation that frankly seemed impossible just a few months ago. Smith is essentially saying, yeah, it's not perfect, but it's better than nothing, and nothing is what we've had for years. But Poilievre isn't letting this go. He's out here painting the deal as weak, as a betrayal of Alberta's interests, as evidence that negotiating with Liberals gets you crumbs instead of the whole pie. His base loves this messaging. It plays perfectly into the narrative that Conservatives are the only ones who truly fight for Alberta, while anyone willing to work with Ottawa is basically a sellout. And you know what? It's effective. Poilievre is positioning himself as the principled alternative, the guy who wouldn't have compromised, the leader Alberta deserves but doesn't currently have in the Prime Minister's office. Meanwhile, the Carney Liberals are thrilled. They're watching Poilievre trash this deal and saying, see? He's just playing political games. He doesn't actually want solutions, he wants conflict. They're using his criticism to bolster their own credibility, suggesting that if even Danielle Smith can work with them, then maybe they're not the villains everyone makes them out to be. It's a brilliant bit of political judo, turning your opponent's attacks into proof of your reasonableness. So where does this leave Smith? Stuck in the middle, trying to sell a deal that makes sense to her but that half her political allies think is a mistake. She's defending Carney to her base while simultaneously reminding everyone that Poilievre would have been better. It's the political equivalent of saying your current partner is great while casually mentioning your ex had a better car. Awkward doesn't even begin to cover it. And let's be real, this tension isn't going away. Poilievre needs to keep Alberta fired up and ready to vote Conservative whenever the next election rolls around. That means staying critical of anything Carney does, even if it benefits Alberta, because admitting Liberals can do something right messes with the entire narrative. Smith, on the other hand, needs to govern, which means occasionally working with people she'd rather not. She can't afford to wait around hoping Poilievre wins the next election, especially when pipelines and jobs are on the line right now. The bigger question is whether Alberta voters will buy what Smith is selling or whether they'll side with Poilievre's purist stance. Are they pragmatic enough to accept progress even when it comes with compromises, or do they want their leaders to hold the line no matter what? That's the gamble Smith is taking, and honestly, it could go either way. What do you think? Is Danielle Smith making smart moves by working with Carney, or should she have held out for a better deal? And is Poilievre right to criticize, or is he just playing politics? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I want to hear what you think. And hey, if you're enjoying these daily deep dives into Canadian politics, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell so you never miss an update. We're posting new videos every single day, breaking down the chaos so you don't have to. Thanks for watching Canadian Insights, and I'll catch you in the next one.